Imagine a building, designed not for living, but for dying. A labyrinth of traps, gas chambers, and secret passages, all built by one man for one purpose: murder. Content warning. This video discusses mature themes including murder and violence. Viewer discretion is advised. In the bustling, optimistic era of the late 1800s, a time of grand innovation and the world's Columbian Exposition, a darkness festered in the heart of Chicago. A darkness so profound, so meticulously crafted, it would forever stain the annals of American crime. This is the chilling story of H.H. Holmes, America's first serial killer, and the monstrous murder castle he built. Our story begins not with H.H. Holmes, but with Herman Webster Mudgett, born in New Hampshire in 1861. From a young age, Herman displayed a disturbing fascination with death, dissecting animals, and some accounts claim, even dabbling in grave robbing. He was brilliant, charismatic, and utterly devoid of empathy. He studied medicine, a path that would later provide him with a chilling understanding of the human body and how to dispose of it. But Herman was also a con artist, a manipulator who left a trail of unpaid debts and broken promises wherever he went. He married, had children, but his true nature was a restless, predatory one. In 1886, Herman Mudgett arrived in Chicago, a city on the cusp of greatness, preparing to host the world's Columbian Exposition. It was a place teeming with opportunity and anonymity. He quickly found work in a pharmacy in Englewood, a bustling neighborhood. The owner, a widow named Mrs. Holton, was charmed by his intelligence and good looks. Soon, he bought the pharmacy from her, and Mrs. Holton mysteriously disappeared. Herman Mudgett was gone, replaced by the suave, sophisticated Dr. H.H. Holmes. With the World's Fair approaching, Chicago was a magnet for millions of visitors, many of them young single women seeking new lives and opportunities. Holmes saw not people, but prey. He purchased a vacant lot across from his pharmacy and began construction on what he initially called a hotel, but which would become known as the Murder Castle. From the outside, it was an imposing three-story structure, seemingly a grand hotel designed to accommodate the influx of fairgoers. But its true purpose was far more sinister. Holmes was meticulous in his deception. He hired and fired dozens of construction crews, often several times a week, ensuring no single worker understood the building's true layout. Walls were built and torn down, rooms reconfigured, all to obscure the labyrinthine design taking shape. The result was a grotesque architectural nightmare. Staircases that led to brick walls, doors that opened onto solid masonry, rooms with no windows, and hallways that twisted and turned into dead ends. Some rooms were soundproofed, others equipped with gas lines that Holmes could control from his office. There were secret passages, trapdoors, and chutes that led directly to the basement. The basement itself was a chamber of horrors. It contained a dissecting table, surgical instruments, vats of acid, quicklime pits, and even a crematorium. Holmes's medical background wasn't just for show, it was for systematic, efficient disposal. He would lure his victims, often young women, into his hotel with promises of employment or marriage. Once inside, they would become trapped in his deadly maze. He would gas them in their sleep, lock them in soundproofed vaults, or simply starve them to death. Their bodies would then be sent down the chutes to the basement, where he would strip them of their valuables, sometimes even selling their skeletons to medical schools. The disappearances were frequent, but in the chaos of the World's Fair, they often went unnoticed. Who would miss a young woman new to the city, with no family nearby? Holmes was a master of charm, always ready with a plausible explanation. He even took out life insurance policies on some of his victims, naming himself as the beneficiary. But Holmes's ambition and greed knew no bounds. After the World's Fair ended, the flow of victims slowed, but his need for money did not. He turned his attention to more elaborate insurance scams. His most significant target was Benjamin Pitezel, a carpenter and accomplice in some of Holmes's schemes. Holmes convinced Pitezel to fake his own death for a $10,000 insurance payout, with Holmes as the beneficiary. The plan was for Pitezel to disappear, and Holmes would provide a cadaver for identification. But Holmes had a different plan. He murdered Pitezel using chloroform and then setting his body on fire to obscure his identity. The insurance company, however, grew suspicious. They hired a detective, Frank Geyer, to investigate. Geyer's investigation would lead him on a relentless, cross-country chase, unraveling Holmes's web of deceit. Holmes, ever the manipulator, had taken Peitzel's 3 children, Alice, Nellie, and Howard, under his wing, promising to reunite them with their father. Instead, he systematically murdered them, one by one, in different states, to prevent them from exposing his crimes. Detective Geyer, a man of unwavering determination, followed Holmes's trail, piecing together the horrifying truth. He found the remains of Alice and Nellie Peitzel buried in the cellar of a house in Toronto, Canada. Their bodies were so badly decomposed that identification was difficult. But Geyer's meticulous work confirmed their identities. The discovery sent shockwaves across the nation. The hunt for Holmes intensified. Finally, in November of 1894, H. Holmes was apprehended in Boston, Massachusetts, after a tip-off from the insurance company. His arrest was the beginning of the end for the monster of Chicago. The focus then shifted to his murder castle. When authorities finally gained full access to the building, what they found was beyond anyone's darkest imaginings. The true purpose of the bizarre architecture was laid bare. Secret passages, hidden rooms, gas pipes, and the gruesome basement facilities confirmed the horrific tales. Though many of the bodies had been meticulously destroyed, the evidence of his atrocities was undeniable. Holmes was put on trial for the murder of Benjamin Peitzel. During the proceedings, he remained calm, even arrogant, often interrupting the court with his own legal arguments. He was ultimately convicted and sentenced to death. While awaiting execution, he confessed to 27 murders, though he later recanted, claiming to be innocent. The true number of his victims remains unknown, with estimates ranging from 9 to over 200. On May 7, 1896, H. Holmes was hanged at Moyamensing Prison in Philadelphia. His final request was to be buried in concrete. Fearing that his body would be dug up and dissected, the murder castle itself met a fiery end shortly after his arrest, burned down by an unknown arsonist, perhaps an act of cleansing for the horrors it contained. Today, a post office stands on the site where the castle once loomed, a mundane structure over a place of unspeakable evil. The story of H. Holmes is a chilling reminder of the darkness that can hide beneath a charming facade and the vulnerability of trust. It speaks to the universal fear of the unknown and the monsters that walk among us, often in plain sight. What truly drove H. Holmes? Was it pure greed or something far more sinister, a deep-seated pathology that reveled in control and suffering? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you're fascinated by true crime and the darker corners of history, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more stories like this. You can also check out our playlist on historical mysteries right here.